Paano, Ivan, kung napatunayan in the future na mali ang physicalism at ang tama is idealism or panpsychism na nagpo-propose na mind ang pinaka-fundamental. So, before the physical, meron munang mind na nag-create ng physical. So, pag sinabi nating mind, intellectual yan. Ano yan? Conscious being yan, di ba? So, kung mapapatunayan yun, sa tingin mo ba magandang evidence yan or support sa existence ng tinatawag natin na God or Creator?
Oo. Loaded nga, loaded.
Hello, Sapiens! Welcome back again for another video. And today, we're gonna talk about the metaphysical views regarding on the fundamental or the essential nature of reality, ano? And we have three known philosophical positions regarding that, which are the physicalism, dualism, and panpsychism. Pero today, magpo-focus muna tayo sa physicalism. At kasama nating pag-uusapan ngayon yan ay isang clinical lab scientist from Las Vegas, Nevada. So, Sir Ivan, welcome, Sir Ivan.
Thank you, RJ. Glad to be here.
Yun. Kamusta? Kamusta naman?
Ito, okay lang. Gigising. Kamusta din?
Ayos lang din. Anong oras ngayon dyan sa inyo?
Past 7 a.m. Yeah. Congrats nga pala sa inyo ni Mrs. sa anniversary niya. And then, saka sa project na to na ginagawa mo. Yeah. Cool.
Salamat. Ang topic natin ngayon is physicalism, ano? So, you're a proponent on that, no? Can you expound and can you tell us why do you believe that is the case?
So basically, may pagka-skeptic din ako, di ba? So, yung physicalism, siya kasi yung pinaka-popular, most held metaphysical view ng mga philosophers saka scientists. And then, nakita ko din kung bakit that's the case. Kung bakit yun yung parang majority compared to the others. And then, syempre, interested din ako doon sa iba as being a skeptic. So, basically, what physicalism said is that ito yung metaphysical thesis that everything that exists is physical. There's only one property and that's all physical properties. So everything, lahat yan. Lahat na nakikita natin, lahat na nag-exist, even our consciousness, our thoughts are all physical properties. Within this thesis, they said that everything supervenes in the physical. So when we say supervenience, that would entail na if A supervenes with B, meaning that there will be no changes on A without changes on B. So lahat ng kapag merong nagbago sa B, magbabago yung A. So let's give an example. So suppose yung water kapag kumulo or nag-freeze, hindi siya kukulo or hindi siya mag-freeze kapag hindi nagbago yung
temperature,
yung properties niya within that water, which is so far we know is yung molecules, yung arrangement, ganyan. So everything nag-exist ngayon dependent sa constituents niya, which is our best explanation sa physics is yung fermions, bosons, and then yung law of physics natin as currently best describes it. So basically, yun yung pinaka kasi maraming versions ng physicalism and sobrang tagal kung itatakan natin lahat. But yun yung common foundation ng theory na yun, nung thesis na yun.
So basically, parang sinasabi na lahat ng occurrence sa reality is pwedeng ma-explain ng physical science, no? Parang ganun.
Yes. Lahat ng events, pwede natin ma-explain ng physical. Up to doon sa best description ng current theories natin. Kung anong meron currently tayo.
Pero meron ka ding idea dun sa dualism tsaka sa iba pang alternatives, no? So, bakit sa tingin mo hindi ka na-convince sa mga ideas sila? Ano yung mga nakita mong problema? Start tayo sa dualism muna.
So, okay, sa dualism. For the longest time, I think dualism is held as the common metaphysical views ng mga philosophers, yung mga way back few centuries ago, I think until now, pati yung mga common majority siguro, dualism pa rin yung metaphysical view nila sa kanilang mga belief sa buhay. Especially if you're traditionally part ng mga religion, ganyan. Kasi dualism said that there are two kinds of property. Yung physical, tsaka yung mental. And then they're both different. Which is very intuitive, di ba? Parang yung mental state mo, hindi mo kayang i-doubt na alam mong meron kang mental state, may consciousness ka. And then nakikita mo yung mga bagay-bagay sa mundo na nanahawakan mo, lalalasahan mo, ganyan. And you think, oh, this is parang part ng physical world. And intuitively, hindi mo ma-feel na pareho sila eh. Di ba? Parang ang hirap tignan na parehas yung nakikita mo mong bagay, parehong property yun, dun sa pag-iisip mo. So, ang pinaka-famous na philosopher na nag-ano dyan is si René Descartes. Yung tinatawag nating mind-body problem niya, di ba?
Okay. So si René Descartes yung nag-bring up nung problem na yun? Siya ba?
Nag-ano siya ng thesis about sa mind-body problem. Pero for the longest time, since back to the ancient times sa mga Greeks, meron na talagang mga ganong klaseng view na merong separate plane from material. Like si Plato, meron siyang material realm, tapos meron siyang realm of ideas. Diba ganyan? And then yung mga ancient religions, like merong special realm like heaven, tapos merong physical world, ganyan. So, it's been a long time na that's the most held view kung ano ba talaga yung nature ng reality. But the problem started when they question yung proposal ni René Descartes about sa mind-body problem. They find it problematic. So the first question nila is that paano nag-i-interact yung mind sa body? And ang mga famous, maraming nag-reject ng idea niya ay nag-criticize ng questions. Merong isang example doon is yung letter ni Elizabeth Bohemia. Nag-exchange sila ng letter si René Descartes at siya. And yung explanation niya is hindi maganda yung, parang hindi substantial yung, hindi niya masyadong na-explain kung paano nag-i-interact yung mind-body.
Mind and body.
Ang sagot lang niya is that the mind interacts with the body through the pineal gland. So parang minub niya lang yung problem sa isang maliit na
Sino yung sumagot nun? Si René
Descartes. So hindi parang hindi sufficient yung sagot niya. Diba? Nandun pa rin. Inurong niya lang sa gland. And then nung tumagal, nung nagkaroon tayo ng advancement sa mga methods natin on how we observe the empirical world, ganyan, up to the scientific revolution, halos napalitan yung ganung klaseng way of thinking na merong mind, body, and problem. And then, doon nag-born yung idea of tinatawag na materialism. Kasi parang, yun ang roots niya ng physicalism is yung materialism.
Okay. So, hindi siya interchangeable, no? Yung physicalism tsaka materialism.
Most of the time,
sila.
Meron silang mga ontological commitments na difference. Pero, every time we hear them, napagpapalit lang eh. Kasi, halos dun lang. Ang pinaka-big difference, I think, is that when we learned about the gravity, fields,
yung mga invisible forces, di ba? Yun.
So, parang updated version yung physicalism.
Doon na siya nag-evolve sa physicalism, no? From materialism, tama. Yun.
Kasi hindi naman sila talaga parang matter, yung parang as we know it na. Diba?
I see.
So as yung mga progression na yun, alongside nung sa mga na-discover natin, kasama na doon yung evolution, kasama na doon yung advancement sa biology and chemistry, like for example, when you dissect yung mga animals, may mga kanya-kanyang different sizes ng brains. Tapos na-correlate natin yan sa mga behavior nila, sa mga parang level of intelligence na nakikita natin, like sa mga birds, or bakit yung insect, parang hindi ganun katalino o ganyan. Or bakit yung monkey, di ba? And then, napansin din natin yan na kapag na-injure yung brain mo, nag-iiba yung personality mo, di ba? When you have brain trauma or anything na parang, or pag uminom ka ng gamot or naging ka, yung mga physical changes na nangyayari sa brain mo, sa katawan mo, naapektuhan yung pag-iisip mo. So, palakas yung evidence ng mga nakikita natin na it's really tied up to the physical properties ng katawan natin. Tapos, nag-ano rin yung sa neuroscience, ganyan, that yung advancement sa technology natin, naging mas finer yung detail on how our nervous system works. Although up to now, hindi pa natin na-explain lahat, but it's very, very promising na ang lawak na nung na-explore natin in terms of that physical nature.
So sa ano naman, Sir Ivan, sa idealism or panpsychism, kasi medyo similar lang yung ano nila, 'di ba? Yung premise nila na lahat is galing sa mind or fundamental nature niya is mind. Ano naman yung nakikita mong problema doon or challenges doon?
So, yes, but idealism said that the fundamental nature of reality is mind. And then yung panpsychism ganun din, that the at fundamental level, lahat ng nagko-constitute ng reality has intrinsic conscious property. So, the thing is that yung sa physicalism, I could give like 4 arguments kung bakit siya mas in favor compared dun sa ibang metaphysical frameworks. So let's start with the explanatory power. Yun yung number 1. Explanatory power. Tapos merong tinatawag na...
Excuse lang, Sir Ivan. Ang i-discuss natin yan is yung arguments supporting physicalism, tama ba?
Yeah, and then in contrast, titingnan natin kung bakit mas lamang yung physicalism sa area na yon compared doon sa idealism, dualism, or panpsychism.
I see.
So para matahan natin difference. So first, let's go with explanatory power, and then merong tinatawag na methodological naturalism. Third will be the causal closure argument, and then the last one is simplicity. So let's start with explanatory power, and sama na natin yung methodological naturalism kasi medyo related yan. So, so sa explanatory power, kasi when we talk about the metaphysical frameworks, yun yung parang usually criteria kung paano natin masasabi na malakas yung chance natin that for it to be the case nga nung klase ng framework na yon. So, basically, lahat na nakikita natin ngayon sa observable world ay meron tayong explanation through our physical laws, physics. Almost lahat. I mean, syempre, merong mga exemptions like nga yung consciousness. Pero pag mo bakit yung puno nag-grow from seed or bumabagsak, we can explain some a big detail about the weather, ganyan. Yun nga, like yung water, ba't siya nagpiprease, kumukulo. Even our technology is the proof na meron tayong big grasp about how the world works right now in that kind of empirical nature ng observations natin. So, ang argument about explanatory power is that yung physicalism is supported ng success ng science. Which is most of us naman is hindi dinidispute yung success ng science. Kahit alam naman natin na hindi siya complete and being updated all the time. It's been very, very successful, di ba?
Actually, kasi yung physicalism, yung physicalism kasi talaga, nakafocus siya sa ano eh. I mean, yung science model natin ngayon, more on materialistic talaga siya, di ba? So, yung success talaga niya, susuporta sa physicalism, tama ba, Sir Ivan?
That's the argument. Pero, syempre, yung mga anti-physicalists, like ng mga idealists, mga dualists, ganyan, they would argue na that's not the necessarily the case. Na science is about methods, like yung methodological naturalism. It's all about methods on how we do the empirical work, but it's not a metaphysical uh, thesis. So kumbaga, ang science hindi siya makakapili ng metaphysical framework.
Oh, I see.
I mean, even in principle, hindi kayang sabihin ng science sa atin na, ito yung tamang metaphysical framework. Ito yung, tama yung idealism, mali yung physicalism. Even in principle,
Kumbaga,
hindi.
Labas na yung science sa metaphysical, explanation ng philosophy.
So, kumbaga, hindi niya kayang sabihin sa atin kung ano ba talaga yung pinaka-nature ng fundamental concepts natin. So, kung ganun, kasi, isipin mo, idealism, everything is mental. Sabi nga ni Berkeley na everything is mental impressions. For example, I have an apple. Yung sight ng apple, yung color niya is like the light striking in my eyes and having a mental impression sa brain ko. Yung texture niya, yung lasa niya, all of those are mental expressions. And then we're gonna label that thing as an apple na hindi pwedeng i-refute ng kahit sino. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng observations mo sa mundo and lahat ng observations natin sa mundo is applicable dun sa idealism or panpsychism or dualism. And science is mostly based on observations, di ba? So, logically, yung idealism, physicalism, dualism, panpsychism, even solipsism, yung view na ako lang ang mind na nag-exist. Lahat kayo illusions lang, ganyan.
Medyo narcissistic yung
Yeah, pero logically that's possible. Pero syempre hindi natin ina-accept yun, and most Filipino nire-reject yun through some validness. Pero logically that's valid. Even that it will says that all our observations is compatible with that. Kaya science cannot choose between all those metaphysical frameworks. So anong difference kung bakit mas malakas yung explanatory power ng physicalism? Kung di naman pala kayang sabihin ng science na physicalism talaga yung tamang metaphysical frameworks. Yeah. One thing is, ang dinedefend ng mga physicalists is yung tinatawag nilang asymmetry nung explanation. Kasi one of the reasons nung success ng science is yung tinatawag na reductive project na it's been very successful. Na if we want to explain something phenomena, we try to break it down to its constituent parts and see how it works. For example, yung car. So, paano nag-work yung car? Pwede mo i-breakdown yan. O merong wheels, merong engine, ganyan. And then yung biology. If you try to explain biology, you can break it down to a lower level domain, yung chemistry, di ba? So, tapos na-explain natin maigi yung biology. And then yung chemistry, you can still break it down to the domain of physics. And yun yung tinatawag na reductive project, which is napaka-successful, di ba? To our technological advancement based on that. So ngayon, yung success na yon is entirely expected sa physicalism. Kasi based on sa framework, sinasabi ng physicalism na merong fundamental constituents na nag-perform sa reality. So, expected yon na pag sinunod mo yung process ng deductive project, mapupunta ka dun sa physicalism. Which is, sabihin mo yung idealism, in principle, pwede nilang sabihin expected. Pero that's not would be the case. Pwedeng mali yung deductive project ng science, pwedeng tama yung magic, pwedeng tama yung voodoo or enchantment. Idealism will not rule those out. Parang sasabihin niya, okay, kung mali yung deductive project or tama yung ganito, but still, it's still, yung framework niya nandun pa rin. Where in case, dun sa physicalism, kapag mali yung expectation na yon, mali na siya. That's why when we hear physicalism, palagi siyang naririnig sa philosophy of mind, especially pagdating sa consciousness. Kasi pag pinag-usapan yung consciousness in terms of qualia, laging napapakita doon na kapag may attack doon, it's an attack to the physicalism. 'Diba?
Mm.
'Diba? Parang
Kumbaga,
kapag
pag may naging problema sa consciousness, kayang i-explain yun sa neuroactivity ng utak natin, tama ba?
oh, or kapag merong refutations doon sa models natin sa math, parang inaatake yon yung physicalism. So basically,
Mm.
yung reductive project na yon, totally expected about sa physicalism. Kaya
Okay.
mas powerful siya in terms of explanation.
I
Sa
see.
dualism naman, kasi yung idealism tsaka physicalism
Panpsychism.
and panpsychism,
Mm.
they are monist in nature. Pag sinabing monist, there's only one property, right? So
Mm.
yun yung dualism naman, there's two property. Yung dualism naman, kaya siya behind sa explanatory powers because now you
Mas
have to explain,
komplikado no? Oo.
now you have to explain too. You have to
Mm.
explain the physical laws and the supposedly mental laws which is different
Mm.
dun sa body. And
True.
then you have to explain how they interact. So mas
Mm.
marami siyang metaphysical baggage and
True.
mas lower siya dun sa explanatory power. So I think hopefully na explain natin yung explanatory power tsaka methodological
Oo.
naturalism as the
So dun
argument for physicalism.
lamang dun yung physicalism ano. So ano pa yung ibang arguments, Sir Ivan? Sir
Yeah.
Ivan.
I-add
Yeah.
ko lang din dun sa explanatory power is that yun nga, kasi parang naka-ingrained na sa culture natin, sa intuition natin, na yung
Yeah.
assumption is that merong physical world talaga. Even by common sense and intuition, di ba? Parang ang hirap sabihin sa isang tao na, ay, yung mga bagay na nahawakan mo, yung matigas, or yung parang tuwing, all just our mental states, di ba? Parang, paano nangyari yun? Lalo na yung mga tangible stuff. Kasi solid yung
Mm.
feel mo solid. Eh.
Pero
Parang
may
isipin mo bagay
tanong
talaga.
may tanong
Mm-hmm.
ako diyan, Sir
Mm-hmm.
Ivan. Kasi
Mm-hmm.
'di ba napatunayan natin sa science na lahat ng matter, lahat ng physical matter sa paligid natin is composed ng atoms. Tapos nung tinignan pa natin yung atoms, nag-zoom in pa tayo sa atoms, almost 99% empty space siya, 'di ba? So
Mm-hmm.
paano magme-make sense na pag yung bato inhawakan natin solid siya, pero pag binreakdown natin
Yeah.
siya, tinignan natin siya ng pinakamalalim, empty space.
Totoo.
So, paano i-explain ngayon ng physicalism yung problema na yun?
Well, in-explain nila yon that in a way na kasi di ba dati nagsimula yan na we found out na merong if you break the parts to
Yeah.
lower parts, we will arrive to molecules, di ba? And then you
Yeah,
break
yeah.
it down farther, napunta tayo sa yun nga, atoms, electrons.
Mm.
And then nag-break down pa
Meron
ulit tayo,
pa.
napunta tayo.
Meron pa. Oo.
And then up to now, our current standard model, I think ng particle physics, we have 37 particles, which is mostly fermions and bosons. So far, yun yung pinaka-lowest level natin, fermions and bosons and
Yan yung
fields.
quark. Yung quark, Sir Ivan.
Parts, yeah. Nandun na siya. Naka-include siya doon sa
Okay.
37 particles na yan.
Mm.
Pati yung mga neutrinos, pati yung mga Higgs bosons na doon. So, the thing is, yun nga, yung fundamental forces na yon, yung force na, merong mga forces na in between those sa empty space na yan. May mga energy levels. And so far, yun yung limit.
So, hindi lang siya basta empty space, no? Merong invisible forces doon na nag-exist, na nagbibigay sa atin ng feeling na solid or liquid, ganyan. Tama ba?
And then that feeling, yung sinasabi yung feeling na yun, we will go there dun sa consciousness part na natin.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the next argument would be, well, since napag-usapan na natin tong standard model and all, part siya nung tinatag na yung fourth argument for physicalism is yung simplicity. So, simplicity says, ito yung tinatawag na law of parsimony or Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, oh.
Yeah, the simplest explanation is the best explanation. Like, do not multiply entities if they're not needed. Pero syempre, maraming questions sa simplicity na it's useful for us, but sometimes we cannot conclude if something is true based on simplicity alone, diba? Pero it's useful on many cases. Tsaka may mga conditions siya in which kailan siya useful. So, pagdating sa simplicity, like nung kanina, yung physicalism, simple, kasi meron lang isang property. Yung idealism, meron lang ding isang property, di ba? And panpsychism. Yung dualism, so there's two properties. So, kung pagdating sa simplicity, huli na naman siya.
Out na siya, oh.
So, but ang argument naman ng mga anti-physicalists sa physicalism pagdating sa simplicity, yeah, sabihin na natin merong isang property lang, physical, and then fundamental properties ng Fermi's boson. But yun nga, when you think about it more deeply, simple lang ba talaga yung fundamental particles mo? Kasi when you go to the standard model, there's like 37 particles. So, paano naging simple daw yun? So, yun yung mga counter-arguments na sinasabi nila.
So meron ding mga challenges at criticisms na hinaharap yung physicalism ngayon, ano? At
yes,
isa
all
yun,
the time.
Isa rin yung parang complexities pag pinreakdown mo pa into smaller components, ano?
Totoo.
So, ano pa iba?
Yung pinaka isang argument is yung tinatawag na causal closure argument. We can use the slide for that causal closure argument for the premises. Yeah.
Ito ba yun? Ayan. Kita mo, Sir Ivan? Tama ba?
Yes.
Yun.
So what causal closure argument entails kasi is that it points us to the law of causality. Yung causality na na-observe natin sa nature, like one event is caused by this, and then if you redo it again, parang intuitively, totoong merong cause and effect, diba? Like for example, sabihin natin si Stephen Curry, kapag nagdi-dribble siya, expected niya na pag binang siya yung ball, babalik sa kamay niya, diba? And then kapag nirelease niya yung ball in certain angle, certain force, certain direction, shoot yung bola. Minsan nga tumatalikod pa siya, di ba?
So physically pala si Stephen Curry.
so kumbaga merong causality tayo na nakikita na which is a very strong intuition din na ang hirap i-reject na sabihin na hindi totoo, di ba? So based on that, it says na if a physical effect has a cause, then it has a sufficient physical cause. Pumapasok din yung parang principle of sufficient reason, na merong sufficient reason na mag-explain sa isang event, di ba? And then sabi doon sa causal closure principle, ang universe is causal and closed. Meaning, isang property lang yung nag-aano ng causation, na walang other cause na pwedeng pumasok sa nature at mag-interfere to produce another event. Kaya tinawag na closure. Ibig sabihin, it's closed. So, premise 2 would be mental causation. Every mental event has a physical effect. Which is, most of the time, intuitive din to eh. Like, for example, I want to eat rice. So, your behavior will change, di ba? Siyempre, kung ganyan. Or pag masaya ka, or pag in love ka, syempre nag-iiba din yung behavior mo, pati yung mga nararamdaman mo sa katawan mo, di ba? So parang merong physical effects going to the consciousness, tapos pabalik sa katawan mo. And then
so before siya naging idea or intuition, galing muna siya sa physical occurrence, parang ganun. Tama ba?
Yeah. And then ini-state ng premise 2 na from there it can have effect pabalik.
Okay.
Kasi from premise 1, closure principle, yung lahat ng cause ng event is one way, di ba? Parang galing from here, going to there. Tapos yung causal exclusion principle, it says that if a physical event X has a physical cause Y, then no other event can be the cause of X at the same time. So basically ang premise na to is to rule out overdetermination. So yung overdetermination, it's a problem kasi sa philosophy na nire-refute ng a lot of philosophers. overdetermination, ang example niyan is that, kunwari merong firing squad, diba? Sabihin na natin merong 20 guns there na bumaril dun sa ini-execute nila. So, all of those 20 bullets has the sufficient cause to cause the death, di ba? Each and one of them. Kaso, ang dami nila, so ang nangyayari, nag-overdetermine.
So hindi na alam kung ano yung nag-cause talaga ng death sa 20, ano na yan.
So, ngayon, pagdating sa philosophy of mind, like the consciousness, merong problem dito sa overdetermination. So, the first argument is that, kung sabihin na natin merong physical event na nangyari, like, ano ba? Kaya uminom ako ng tubig, di ba? Yung tubig, yung physical event. So, overdetermination would look like this, na merong brain synapses na nangyari. Yun yung first P1, sabihin na natin physical effect 1. Tapos merong, may reaction sa neurons, ganyan, that cause P2, physical event 2, di ba? Now, overdetermination will say that merong separate M1, mental event, totally separate dun sa P1, that will produce the same effect. Nakukunin mo yung baso, inom ka. Ang problema doon is that, sabi ng mga philosophers, there seems to be a global coincidence na kapag nangyari yung P1 na yon or yung M1 na yon, susunod to. Which is very parang hindi convincing. Na lahat ng event is that na merong possible different causes na entirely different sa isa't isa, nang walang link. So parang that's a weird coincidence daw kung overdetermination is true. So, yun yung point ng premise 3, that with this principle, we can rule out na walang overdetermination. So, with these premises, ang conclusion dyan is that mental events are identical to physical events. Okay. So, merong mga attacks dyan sa premises na yan, ng mga anti-physicalists, di ba? Unang-una, yung causal closure principle. The physical effect has a cause and then it's sufficient physical. Unang attack dyan is that bakit daw i-grant natin that there's a physical effects at all? Diba? Parang, kasi basic assumption yun ng causality, diba? I mean, ng physicalism, that there are physical effects. So, unang argument nila is, bakit natin nasabing meron talagang physical events? Pwedeng hindi naman talaga sila effects or wala naman talagang nangyayaring physical events, something na ganyan. But those are like the most, parang hindi naman fringe, but they're very, very small, that it's like an assumption, a basic assumption based on something na hindi naman talaga natin ma-prove. Maybe on intuition lang na merong physical effects. Kasi you could say that there's no physical effects, only mental effects. Diba? So parang it's not easily can be granted by idealists or panpsychism. So yun yung parang pinaka-point doon. There is this basic assumption na coincidentally hawak ng majority based on intuition maybe, and also the methods ng how we model our science. So, and then the next one will be ang attack dito sa premise 1 na yon about is, what is causality? Meron ba talagang causality? Diba? I mean, before I never thought of even asking those, diba? Kasi parang napaka-obvious ng cause and effect, diba? But there are philosophers, I think, Bertrand Russell, he has a book about the nature of cause, something like that. Tapos meron ibang contemporary philosophers na nagsasabi. So basically is this. Kapag sinabi natin causality, syempre cause effect. Merong event A causes B, di ba? Pero ang logic nung attack sa causality is like this. In science, kapag sinabi mong this event it's a specific event. Parang ang car na tumatakbo ng 60 miles per hour is a different event dun sa car na tumatakbo ng 60.5 miles per hour. And then when they said that the theory of relativity predicts the comet bending when it goes around the sun or a bigger planet, di ba? Hindi lang niya sinabi na magbe-bend yung light or yung motion, ganyan. It predicts in some precision kung gaano yung bend, di ba? Or else the theory will be questionable, di ba? So merong certain precision and measurement na nangyayari. So yung sa point na causality nito, kapag sinabi mong event A causes B, and then you define what is event A, the more you define event A, the more complex it gets. Like, ito yung position niya, ito yung weight niya, ito yung pressure niya ng time na yon, ito yung hangin, direction, ganyan. And the more you give trying to identify what's that event, nagiging obvious na hindi mo na kayang i-replicate yung event B. So, without totally, kumbaga, yung causality is that taken for granted na at now our basic assumption is that causality is present, which is present naman talaga and useful, di ba? At macroscopic level, na pag sinabi mong pag tinulak mo to, talagang tutumbayan, ganyan. Or like nga yung basketball, nga pag sinod mo ganyan. Although hindi mo makopy yung exact event A to produce the B, at least yung approximations based dun sa induction na medyo susundin niya yung same, kung di man exactly the same, di ba? But syempre, at the level of quantum mechanics, doon na nagiging questionable yung view natin ng causality. And yun din yung isang attack sa physicalism. If ang physicalism hindi naman nagre-rely, is parang mostly based on sa success ng science. Fundamentally, they should at least, sabi ng mga philosopher, consider yung nature ng causality. Kasi pagdating sa quantum mechanics, physics says na there are probably non-causal or something, di ba? Na random stuff. Yeah, kasi merong well, sa quantum mechanics, sa philosophy of quantum mechanics kasi merong mga usapan na ganyan. Like for example, yung radioactive decay. They said it's non-causal, di ba? Na nagde-decay ang mga isotopes to. Others will defend it na there's still a cause, hindi lang natin alam kung when mangyayari. Kasi basically at the fundamental level, yung radioactive decay is yung energy imbalance dun sa sabihin na natin sa neutrons, ganyan, and then magde-decay siya. So, PSR will say, meron pa rin talagang explanation na hindi lang natin alam or indeterministic or hindi natin ma-explain. Pero sinasabi kasi nila na non-causal daw. Or yung entanglement, di ba? Like, bakit merong entanglement or why does virtual particles suddenly pops up? Well, lahat naman ng science, lahat ng fundamental assumptions natin, the more you ask below, hanggang mapupunta ka sa pinaka-level na talagang axiomatic na magiging brute fact na yung dating, na you don't have any other explanation kung bakit. Di ba?
Meron ganun.
Like,
totoo yan.
Why is everything has motion? Why is there's, di ba? Why, bakit there's a spin, di ba? Bakit merong spin?
Yan.
And then bakit yung magnetic dipoles, kunyari magnet, hinati mo sa gitna. Yung maliit na magnet, meron pa rin siyang dipole. Hatiin mo ulit, meron pa rin dipole. Di ba? Pero theoretically, dapat makakita tayo ng monopole, pero we don't see any monopole in nature. So, the more you try to break down our actions, darating ka dun sa brute facts na tinatawag. Pero yun ang sabi ng mga anti-physicalists na yung causal closure argument based sa causality, at least in principle, if you follow physics, you should then parang at least man lang questionin mo ba yung nature ng causality, di ba? Okay, so next. Mental causation, every event has a physical effect. Every mental event has a physical effect. So yung ibang metaphysical frameworks, hindi i-grant yan. Like, merong tinatawag na FE phenomenalism. Meron siyang view na yung, sabihin natin yung neurons sa synaptic level, di ba? Sa neural firing and neural activity will produce a mental event. But at the same time, nagpo-produce din siya ng physical effects. Sabihin natin,
yun yung na-observe natin sa sa MRI, mga ganun, tama ba? Yung nakita natin sa lab.
So, in this epiphenomenism view is that, kunyari, yung neural activity, sabihin na natin anger. So, merong neural synapses na nag-dig in sa brain, nag-process ganyan, and then it produce a physical effect, anger, di ba? At the same time, nag-produce siya ng mental effect, subjective experience na anger, galit siya. Pero, ang sabi ng epiphenomenism, yung mental effect na yon, walang direct link doon sa physical effect ng anger mo. Like, kunwari, yung mukha mo gumanyan, galit ka, yung blood pressure mo tumataas, nagigigil yung kamay mo. Sinasabi ng epiphenomenalist, hindi yung mental event ang nag-cause noon, kundi yung physical event. Pero there's a correlation. There's a correlation na nangyayari. So parang ang nangyayari, for epiphenomenalist, yung mental event is non-causal and nanonood lang siya. Parang nanonood lang yung mental event mo. It's another view. Like, for example, nanonood ka ng TV, nakikita mo there's a motion, umaandar yung character doon, or kunyari yung bola sa TV umaandar. Pero in reality, pixels lang yung gumagalaw. Nagta-turn on and off lang yung pixel. And then it produce an illusion ng motion sa'yo. So parang ganun yung view ng epiphenomenalist. So pwede nilang i-reject yung number 2. Okay. I don't think dualists will reject the premise too, kasi nga they're trying to solve the mind-body problem. They tell us that yung mental event has effects sa body, di ba? And I think yung idealism is also the same. So yeah, yung epiphenomenism can reject number 2. Or merong mga tinatawag na mathematical Platonist or yung mga mga anti-realist. They said numbers, moral facts are non-causal, hindi sila temporal, spatial, so they don't have effects on physical world. So merong mga ganong view, yung mga mathematical Platonists. Pero syempre, may mga arguments against that, yung mga mathematical realists, and yung iba't ibang klaseng physicalism, mayroon silang mga independent arguments about sa our concepts, ideas, and numbers, ganyan. Pero for them, those concepts and ideas are non-causal daw. So, yun yung mga parang attacks dyan sa premises na yan. Okay, I guess na...
pangatlo na ba yun, yung minention mo?
Yung causal exclusion principle. I think na-discuss natin yung yan, yung sa exclusion principle niya.
So, ano yung pinaka mahirap na challenge ng physicalism? Yun na ba yung hard problem of consciousness? Tama ba?
Yeah, so far, yun palagi when we talk about physicalism, palaging nasa philosophy of mind yun. That is what we call the hard problem of consciousness. So, ano nga ba uli yung hard problem of consciousness daw?
Yun nga. Teka lang nabigla ako dun. Hard problem of consciousness, di ba yun yung parang sinasabi na yung consciousness natin is hindi siya produkto ng physical occurrence sa utak natin, tama ba? Pwede nating sabihin na yung consciousness is nagko-correlate sa brain activity, pero iba siya, nakahiwalay siya kasi hindi natin siya kayang explain sa sa physicalism view kasi example, bubuksan natin yung utak ng isang tao. So, saan mo hahanapin yung consciousness nun, di ba? Kasi, kung sasabihin natin physical, nasaan yung consciousness sa utak ng tao? So, I think yun yung, yung hard problem of consciousness. Actually, marami pang arguments pero yun na lang muna.
Yeah. That's the gist of it. So yeah, yun nga yung hard problem of consciousness. Specifically dun sa subjective experience. Kasi meron ding tinatawag na easy problem ng consciousness. Yun nga, yung brain firing, neural firing, na kapag in-injure mo yung brain, maapektuhan yung gantong function mo, ganyan. So that's the easy one. We can see clearly the causal link between those two. So yung pagdating sa subjective experience naman, yung sinasabi nila na kapag nakita ka ng apple or white wall, yung experience mo ng redness ng apple, di ba? Yung subjective experience na tinatawag mo. Yung phenomena na yon, yung phenomenal event na yon, yun yung parang sinasabi nilang hindi pa kayang i-explain ng physical factors natin. So, may mga arguments dyan kasi ang physicalism. Kasi di ba I said a while ago that there's maraming characterizations ng physicalism, iba-iba. Pero mainly, the most popular one is yung nang pinag-usapan natin, yung reductive physicalism. Meron din naman tinatawag na non-reductive and meron tinatawag na eliminativism. So, yung tatlong yun yung popular. Kasi marami pa, may mga token, may type.
Marami pa palang klase yung physicalism.
Yeah. Pagdating doon sa qualia na tinatawag or subjective experience.
So, ano na siya? Labas na siya sa Occam's razor. Kasi parang mas komplikado na siya, no?
Pero sa mga philosophers of mind, sa survey, majority is held by reductive physicalism.
Okay.
So let's go with eliminativism first. Usually, ang eliminativism, yun yung parang pinaka-null hypothesis eh. Some of them, yung pinaka extreme part, nire-reject nila yung consciousness. Parang illusion lang daw, ganyan.
Ayun.
Kaya tinawag na eliminativism, that there's no such thing as consciousness. Pero
hindi lahat ng physicalist yun yung view, di ba? Na illusion lang ang...
Pero merong type ng eliminativism na popular. Tulad ni Daniel Dennett. Narinig mo naman siya, di ba? Eliminativist siya in a way that sinasabi niya yung qualia mismo, that qualia, pagdating sa qualia, it doesn't exist daw, ganyan. Parang it's a illusion or parang word games on how we view the process daw nung. Pero siya yung nagpropose din siya ng information integration theory. And based on that model, doon niya in-explain kung bakit parang naging illusion yung dating ng qualia. The way how people attack the arguments, di ba? So the next is yung reductive physicalist, yung majority. Ang sinasabi naman nila is that yung subjective experience mo is still identical daw. Ang problem is that how would they explain the process that phenomenal experience arise? Kaya lagi nating naririnig na physicalism is promissory note. Na sabi na someday when we're advanced enough, we'll be able to explain it. So yun yung parang nakikitang yun yung parang naririnig natin palagi sa mga forums, YouTube. Pero yung argument nila is this. So kung sabihin natin emergent property ng brain ang consciousness, di ba? We'll give examples. Like yung car, yung wheels, hindi yan tatakbo kapag walang machine or yung makina hindi tatakbo kapag walang gas or battery, walang electricity, hindi tatakbo. Pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat functions ng mga maliliit na systems na yon or parts, then you have the system ng car. Then you can observe that on nature, yung flock of birds or yung weather. Kasi sabi mo kumuha ko ng isang baso ng oxygen, isang baso ng nitrogen and all that. Kahit paghalo-haloin ko sila, hindi ako makapag-produce ng weather doon, di ba? Until more and more complex, more and more systems nag-interact, the more complex it is, and then it will produce another tinatawag na emergent property, di ba? Kaso may problematic dun sa the way people describe emergent properties. So mas okay ako dun sa sinatawag na system properties.
Ano yung
system level. I mean, yung point lang, kasi merong tinatawag na weak emergence and when strong emergence. Sabi nila, ang consciousness daw is strong emergence. Everything else is weak emergence. Yung weather, weak emergence yan, or yung lahat na nakikita natin na emergent properties.
Anong difference nung weak emergence tsaka strong emergence?
So, yung weak emergence, yun yung in-explain ko na yung mga parts, kapag pinagsama-sama mo, magpuproduce sila ng another emergent property. Ngayon, yung strong emergence, ang claim nila is that yung property na nag-emerge is on a different level na merong something doon na hindi ma-account ng parts. And then, ina-apply nila yon sa consciousness. Na yun lang ang parang...
Actually, parang ganun talaga yung case di ba? Kasi...
So, yun yung assumption doon. Pero pag tinanong mo ang physicalist, hindi nila sinasabing strong emergence yun. Parang weak emergence lang or system level properties na identical doon sa physical processes ng brain. So, depends dyan is like this. Yun nga. Obviously, yung kapag uminom ka ng alcohol, maapektuhan yung subjective processes mo. Kasi ang point nila doon sa qualia is like yung thought bubbles na thought experiment na Mary, the color Mary scientist, o Mary's room, di ba? Yung knowledge argument nila, or
black
yung...
and white room.
Or yung philosophical zombie. Sinasabi nila na yung subjective experience ang hindi kayang i-account for. But imagine this, kapag nalasing ka or talagang lasing na lasing ka, yung mismong subjective experience mo, nagbabago rin naman eh. Intuitively, nagbabago rin, di ba? Parang iba yung level ng way. So basically,
doon pa lang... correlated nga siya sa physical din eh. Di ba?
And then yung another explanation is that yun nga, yung merong experiment na ginawa na yung tao, nakikita niya yung colors, di ba? Pero hindi niya alam na once na parang nilagay ng magnet yung some side ng brain niya, nawala yung color.
Nagbabago?
So feeling niya, yung subjective experience niya, nakikita niya na is colorless. Pero nandun pa rin yung subjective experience. Kung nagbago yung subjective experience niya with just using the magnet. So parang logically, ibig sabihin is that it supervenes on the physical, di ba? Kasi hindi niya alam na nilagyan siya ng magnet, pero feeling niya nag-iba yung kulay. So, although hindi siya strong explanation. Hindi siya strong explanation ganun.
Pero it makes sense, no?
Ito pa yung sa weak emergence. Imagine this, kapag orchestra, di ba, merong violin, cello, or piano, ganyan. By themselves, they do not produce yung grand na performance na nangyayari sa orchestra. Then imagine mo yung brain like that with trillions of neurons. And then hindi lang up and down yung reaction, meron ding side cross, horizontal, vertical, or paikot. Depende sa processing na nangyayari, which is yun nga, someday they hope to explain it. And then that with that much complexity, then boom.
Yun yung promissory note ng physicalism.
Yun yung sa reductive. Ngayon naman, yung non-reductive, ano naman yung non-reductive? Parang ganun din siya. Same foundation na everything supervenes on the physical, the consciousness supervenes on physical. Pero the way the non-reductive physical is explained, kung ano yung phenomenal experience, is not being reduced, cannot be reduced the same ng ginagawa ng reductionist. Sinasabi nila merong functional property yung mga mental events natin. For example, kunyari, kinurot ko yung sarili ko, di ba? So, yung signals sa neurons papunta sa utak ko, ganyan. Yung exactly the way the brain works, fire, produce my reaction to pain, saka subconscious reaction to pain, hindi siya yun parang yun, magiging universal na explanation kung ano yung pain. Kasi imagine merong alien daw in some possible world na iba yung structure ng brain nila and then iba yung katawan nila. And then somehow they also experience pain. Pero hindi katulad nung the way na. So yung explanation nila ng pain, subjective experience ng pain and nung alien, is in the terms of the functions. So, yun yung non-reductive explanation daw.
Parang nabasa ko yung example mo na yun. Hindi ko lang maalala kung
nakalimutan ko dati kung saan ako nakuha yun.
Pero nabasa ko yun.
So yun. So yun yung mga parang question. And then, doon naman sa argument again, yung parang mga thought experiments doon sa Mary's Room, ganyan, or philosophical zombie. Yung most philosophers ng mind, yung especially yung majority ng sinasabi nila na ano naman daw na it's not really parang attack doon sa physicalism kasi even Chalmers, kasi di ba si Chalmers yung nag-propose ng philosophical zombie. Even Chalmers, when he wrote
Ivan, pwedeng explain mo natin briefly yung Mary's Room, di ba? Kasi yung mga nanonood baka hindi nila yung pinag-uusapan natin.
Masyado tayong sa philosophical.
So ano ba yung Mary's Room na example na yan? Na
Mary's Room, ito yung tinatawag na knowledge argument against physicalism pagdating sa consciousness. Yeah. Sabi nila, si Mary is a scientist na nasa room. Yung buong buhay niya nasa isang room lang siya, which is black and white.
Yung color na. So wala siyang nakikitang ibang color.
She never saw any color in her life, only black and white. Tapos doon merong TV or computer, can't remember. Then parang doon, yung computer, sinasabi niya lahat ng information about colors. Ayan. Lahat ng pwede mo malaman sa colors, like light hits the object, reflected, certain wavelength, this wavelength produce ganyan. To your retina, to yung mga cones, rods, ganyan, papunta sa kung ano man. Lahat ng process involved, everything na alam natin about light and colors, which is so far still under debate pa rin yung ganong technology. Yeah, yung color science is still expanding field. Pero yun nga. So sabi nila, if Mary learned everything about colors doon sa room na yon, and then she stepped outside in the outside world, and then finally see colors in the real world. Sabi nila, Mary learned something new. And then, and yung natutunan niyang yon is yung subjective experience daw of seeing a color. Like the redness of the apples. Nakikita mo daw yung ganyan. Parang yung feeling na nakita mo yung ng red na apple or yung green na trees. Ganyan. And if that thought experiment is correct, physicalism daw will be false. Pero sabi naman ng mga physicalist, it's a big assertion daw na Mary learned everything through that computer or TV. Sabi nila, you cannot gain knowledge of all experience through propositions. Kasi propositions lang yung computer eh. Parang tinuturuan lang siya by through words. Yeah. So you cannot, epistemologically daw, you cannot learn all knowledge through propositions without experiencing nga daw. So kumbaga, it's a big assertion na she learned everything already. Yun isang attack.
Parang pinagdebatihan natin dati yung Mary's Room. No? Nalimutan ko lang yung mga premises ko dun. Kaya sige.
Marami yan. Pero so far yun lang yung parang major na naalala ko na. Tsaka yung philosophical zombies naman daw. Yung philosophical zombies is that if you duplicate everything about me, like every cell, every atom per atom, position ganyan, including my brain. Tapos, pag na-duplicate mo daw yun, yung philosophical zombie is that it will do everything like me and act like me, pero wala daw subjective experience.
Walang subjective experience. So paano mo malalaman na conscious yung philosophical zombie na yan?
So ang mga arguments doon, may mga pro and against na arguments na is that sabi ng iba it's impossible daw for that to exist. Yung iba naman sabi it's metaphysically impossible, sabi possible. So may iba't ibang arguments sila about that. But the thing is, if you're gonna refute daw the thesis ng physicalism, it's based on the hard problem. Hindi daw dun sa knowledge argument like Mary's Room or P-Zombie. Kasi even daw si Chalmers, when he wrote the book about the hard problem nga ng consciousness, Not even once, hindi daw niya sinulat yung T-zombies niya doon.
Oh.
Mm-mm. So if you attack the hard problem, then yun nga, problem yun sa physicalism. But ito ang point doon is that the hard problem is also a problem sa idealism and panpsychism. Kahit sinasabi nila, although na hindi daw problem yon, it's still a problem. Kasi ang nangyayari, it's not about, parang, ang nangyayari sinasabi nila, may mental properties yung mga basic constituents natin, yung mga atoms, fermions, bosons. Sabihin na natin, like panpsychism, meron silang little bits of subjective property, di ba? Experience ganyan. So, by the time na dumating ka na sa, pag sinundan mo yung causality, by the time na dumating ka na sa consciousness and conscious experience, sabi nila, since everything has mental property, hindi ka na magkakaroon ng categorical error na mental yung yung mental property ng consciousness is galing doon. Which is exactly the same as physicalism, pero parang merong categorical error. Pero ang hard problem of consciousness is yun nga, yung phenomenological experience na nag-arise doon sa brain processes. Yun yung parang paano nag-arise ang tanong. Kumbaga, yung hard problem, hindi pa rin nasasagot nung panpsychism and idealism. Sinabi lang nila na it's not a categorical mistake, pero the process on how it arises remains unsolved. So kumbaga, nagre-rely pa rin lahat sa
naisagot ang panpsychism dyan pero sa part 2 na natin yan.
Talaga, may sagot na sila.
Meron na.
Sige, I'd like to hear that.
Sa part 2 natin na.
Okay.
So sa tingin mo, Sir Ivan, lahat ng pinag-usapan natin tungkol sa physicalism, sa philosophical position natin sa about sa mind. Bakit sa tingin mo importanteng pag-usapan ngayon to ng mga philosophers, ng mga scientists? Anong benefits nito? Anong benefits ang mabibigay nito sa mga tao, sa humanity?
That's actually a very good question, no? Bakit mo kailangan pag-aralan yung philosophy? I think let's start with science siguro. Sabi ni Kuhn, there is called normal science and revolutionary science. Sabi niya na during the period of normal science, metaphysical frameworks is parang hindi daw ganun ka-active or hindi ganun ka-importante. Kasi on the normal period ng science is that yung mga scientists, they're trying to explore the world based on a certain framework. Now, when during the periods of revolutionary science, doon daw nagiging super important na metaphysical framework. Kasi that's the time when the previous metaphysical framework is being attacked. Sabihin na natin, ito pala yung, kasi this is like a part of nung explanatory power argument ng physicalism. Sabihin natin I think before 1800s, there is a widely held view which ng mga scientists and philosopher about called vitalism. Yun yung metaphysical view dati. Nasabi that life cannot be reduced to physical properties. Sabi nila, there is a vital force or parang life force na tinatawag to on how na nag-a-arise yung life. Pero as our theories progress, our methods progress, sabi ng evolution, sabi ng organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, it seems to us na life is just another physical process.
May tanong ako dyan, Sir Ivan. So kung totoo nga na naintindihan na natin na life is just a physical process, bakit hindi pa rin magawa natin sa lab na mag-produce ng life synthetically, na hindi ka kukuha ng mga, atom by atom, i-replicate natin yung yung proseso na yun. Ba't hindi pa rin magawa natin sa laboratory yung ganyan?
In a sense, we do it all the time on the level of the gametes and the egg cells and the sperms, like sa plants, sa insects, diba? Kaya natin i-reproduce ang life using the eggs, diba? Pero I don't think we have the technology to recreate yung actual configurations ng mga ng mga reproductive systems na. Pero if you can, of course, I think it's technological limit diba? If you can, like if you can create RNA, like you start by one codon next to another codon and then make a DNA or something and then i-enclose mo siya para maging sperm or something ganyan, then you can make life. Pero pag finalo mo yung ganong logic, sa tingin mo magagawa yung life, di ba?
Ang alam ko kasi parang nakaka-produce sila pero meron pa rin silang parang part na kinukuha sa living cell talaga, which is yung parang hindi ko nalimutan ko yung term na alam mo ba yun, Sir Ivan?
Kasi wala naman tayong ibang pagkukuhanan kundi yun. And then we don't have the technology to actually copy kung ano man yung kinukuha mo. Pero ang tanong, if will they be able to reconstruct yung kinukuha mo sa cell na yun? I think we might be able to do kasi they're trying to do the RNA stuff like that.
Tsaka, sorry, no tayo ulit dyan.
At least ito medyo mas ahead na tayo sa level na to kasi yung mga PCR, you amplify yung DNA Parang kukuha ka ng sobrang konting amount ng mga RNAs, DNAs. And then yung mga PCR natin is minumultiply siya ng sobrang dami. Diba? So, ibig sabihin, meron tayong way to multiply the RNA and DNA. Tapos, ang wala lang siguro tayo is actually, well, we can splice it. We can edit it. So, na-edit na natin, di ba? Na-edit, na-multiply. Ang kulang na lang talaga is yung make it from scratch. Kunyari, one codon, apat na protein, apat na amino acids yun, di ba? Parang kalimutan ko Basta may apat. Sabihin mo isang codon, apat. Yun na lang yung parang kailangan natin gawin is to build that from scratch instead of getting a small amount somewhere then multiplying them up to large amount. So yun. So nung na-disprove ngayon yung vitalism kasi wala naman talagang na-prove na life force and all. Ibig sabihin, merong nangyari sa metaphysical view dati na nagbago. So nagbago yung metaphysics natin. Which is one important kasi ang science methodological yan, di ba? Like reductive, induction, or merong iba-ibang problems yan. Meron siyang mga limits and probabilities. Pero nag-work siya in some metaphysical framework. Like the Newtonian mechanics. For the longest time, napaka-accurate niyan. Pati sa on level ng dito sa Earth, yung sa medium-sized objects, still useful, still accurate yung mga Newton's law. Pero that framework, hindi na siya accurate or hindi na siya applicable pagdating sa heavenly bodies or sa quantum world. Doon, bumapasok na ngayon yung general relativity, special relativity, tsaka yung quantum mechanics, di ba? So ngayon, progress, yung kumbaga, I think progress is one benefit nung learning about this sa pagdating doon sa science. Ngayon pagdating sa mga normal people tulad natin.
Normal people,
normal people. I think pagdating sa philosophy, ang importance kasi niyan, ang bawat isa sa atin, bawat philosophers, may tatlong tanong. I think everyone tinanong siguro tong 3 questions na to. Una, what is real? How do I know it? Tapos, how should I live my life? Diba? So, yung tatlong yon, basically, you can sum a big deal of philosophy doon. Nandun na yung metaphysics, nandun na yung epistemology, and nandun na yung lastly, nandun yung ethics. Diba? And I think every one of us, meron ng tatlo na yon. Majority, pwedeng ang metaphysical framework nila is about religion. Because fundamentally, theology is a metaphysical framework Kasi kung what is reality daw, di ba? So, meron silang framework kung what is reality. So across the world, everyone has that. And then, I think ang benefit niya sa isa-isa natin is that habang lumalaki tayo, meron tayong nakukuhang metaphysical frameworks from our culture, from our parents, from our community, environment. And then paglaki mo, at some point, meron kang questions di ba? At some point, mako-question mo kung ano yung mga experience mo nung lumaki ka and all that. May mga tanong ka. especially on ethics, di ba? I think yung progress ng science and malaking maitutulong niya sa frameworks ng bawat isa through ethics and their personal belief. For example, sabihin na natin may question ka about, sabihin na natin yung heaven, diba? Kasi part siya ng metaphysical framework ng mga religious people, diba? Sabihin natin heaven, yung iba, sabi nila, hindi daw pupunta yung souls ng mga animals doon, diba? Yung iba naman sabi pwedeng, merong dating framework na wala daw souls ang animals. Even without explaining what soul actually is. And then sabi nila, yung iba pwede daw pumunta yung soul ng pets mo doon.
Anong sabi ni Arvin tungkol dyan? May souls ba ang animals? Para
wala. Sabi niya wala.
Parang wala, no? Kasi iba yung parang tayo lang yung may rationality para sa view ni Arvin, di ba?
Pag sinabi mo ngayon yan sa mga pet lovers, their pets is part of the family, di ba? So ngayon, kapag sinabi mong hindi pwedeng pumunta yung pets doon, as part of their family. Ano pang syempre, 'di ba? Anong pang klaseng heaven 'yon, 'di ba? So ngayon, meron kang may mga tanong ka nangyayari. Tapos sabi nila yung souls is like a book of your memories, madadala mo yan sa heaven. So paano kung nag-amnesia ka, mababalik ba ng soul mo yung mga nakaraan mong experience? And then sabi nila mawawala daw yung bad habits mo or sinful nature mo sa heaven. Ang tanong doon, ikaw pa rin ba yon? Or parang ganyan. So yun, so yung mga tanong siguro doon nila, or meron ding tanong na, like the Tao, everything is Taoism, everything is about Tao, everything that flows or everything is made up of Tao. So parang merong unity doon, di ba? Parang may intuition sila na everything is connected. Sa Christianity naman or sa Islam na God is omniscient, omnipotent, di ba? Omnipresent, na is everywhere, all the time, powerful. So, paano mo ngayon i-explain yon on like scientific grounds? And then, syempre, itong ganitong metaphysical framework like panpsychism or physicalism na nagsasabi everything is made of one stuff or connected. So, pwedeng ma-support yung belief ng ibang systems or pwede namang masagot mo ibang questions about certain beliefs. So, yeah, meron kasi siguro mga questions na mga answers if magpo-progress tayo sa mga metaphysical frameworks natin. Pagdating naman sa ethical frameworks, I think relevant yan today. Kasi like the war on Syria, Israel and Palestine, sorry.
Israel and Palestine na.
Kasi
so
mostly,
paano siya may ko-connect sa ethics, no? Itong pinag-uusapan natin.
Kasi so far those war, some say it's based on culture nila, 'di ba? Like long-standing religious beliefs, political mga ganon. So iba't ibang factors. Pero kung ma-realize lang nila na parang we're supposed to be all connected, ganyan, that meron lang isang life to live here, ganyan.
Ayan. Maganda.
Na we don't have to do this, ng ganon, di ba? Maybe the next generation will be better, ganon. And then yun nga, yung metaphysical framework ng mga vegans na since na may framework sila about suffering and pain ng other creatures like animals. So now, meron silang bagong framework na are we supposed to lessen suffering including the animals, diba? Which is, I'm not a vegan, pero tama nga naman, kaya ako, if I could support yung mga farms na humane yung pag-aalaga ng mga poultries nila or livestock. So, di ba?
Yung gano'n, no?
Kesa yung sa parang talagang wild factory. Pero may point sila ganyan. And then you have available resources naman to survive, to be healthy without necessarily consumption ng excess meat. Yung mga ganyan ba? So, I think yung mga frameworks na yun, paunti, hindi man mangyari right away sa generations natin. Paunti-unti, merong mga changes na mangyayari dyan. And hopefully, for the better, no? Like yung talagang understanding across borders, di ba? Kasi for me, at this point, wala na dapat war eh, di ba? Pero human nature talagang hindi basta-basta
hindi lang basta human nature eh, parang nature ng lahat ng organism sa mundo, di ba? Na
totoo. Tsaka economically, di ba? Siyempre yung I mean I support free market and all that. Pero makikita mo yung point ng mga Marxists, ng mga socialists regarding yun nga sa wealth gap, sa mga abuse ng mga corporations, yung mga talagang I mean 3 billions of profits ganyan. I mean I can understand yung system ng economics is just about distribution ng resources and all that. Pero pagdating sa human level, syempre doon makikita mo yung suffering, yung envy, yung greed ng tao. I think maybe the future generation will have a better metaphysical framework. Sabi nung kasi may point yung ibang mga religious people na if everyone turned to God, but almost everyone in the world, yun nga, di ba? Meron naman silang mga religious beliefs and all that. And meron pa rin talagang problem pagdating sa human nature. So, hopefully we advance on those areas too. And then lastly, yung syempre AI, ethical systems ng AI. The way kasi right now meron silang, di ba, 6 months ago there was a news, merong group of scientists, they said that they will be able to interpret brainwaves to text, to written text. So meron silang mga set of data training sets. They calibrated it dun sa mga participants. Very small specific training sets to see. And yeah, tama yung AI. Kunyari, parang nasa isip ng girl, I see the girl stumbled or something ganyan. Yun nga yung susulat ng AI na subtitle. They use AI 6 months ago. It's been going on. They use ChatGPT-1 that time.
I mean, ngayon ko lang narinig yung ano na yan.
Oh, I can send you the link. Nasaan niyo siya?
Maganda.
So sabi ng iba, mind reading daw, ganyan. Although, hindi pa siya ganun at the level of mind reading kasi they try to train it using training data sets. Eh. So yun. Pero at least nandun na yung stable diffusion, they use it. Kasi dati, the way they try to read the minds, ay mo ko kung pinoprobe talaga nila yung utak is through speech. Kaso may lag. May sobrang laking delay nung consciousness through speech to translation. Pero this time, they using stable diffusion. Dun mismo sa fMRI ng brain. And then yung fMRI, hindi siya invasive kasi they made something small na kasing accurate ng malalaking fMRI. And then,
technical na yan.
Totoo.
Hindi ko na maintindihan.
Kasi di ba sa hospital may fMRI, yung parang papasok ka sa malaking makikita yung mga brain scans mo. So, nung ginagawa nila yun, they're using ChatGPT, nababasa nila yung brainwaves through training data sets, which is napaka-accurate nga in high level. Tapos naka-invento sila ng maliit lang, which is hindi kasing lakas ng fMRI ng clinical setting, pero almost kasing accurate yung results.
Sa tingin mo ba, Ayman, sa advancement ng technology natin, meron bang possibility na magkaroon ng sariling consciousness yung mga AI?
Sa tingin ko, it's highly possible. Unang-una, depende on how do we define kung ano yung consciousness. And most likely, the way kung paano nag-a-advance yung technology din kasi natin eh. Di ba dati, yung mga data storage, parang isang buong kwarto, megabytes lang, di ba? Ngayon, terabytes, hawak mo na. So, ang bilis ng advancement ng technology natin. Tapos may mga promising development sa mga cooling systems. So, kumbaga, may future pang tumaas yung processing power natin. Ganyan. And then, pagdating dun sa yung sa AI research, yun nga, on how they train the AI to interpret yung mga datasets ng mga brainwaves, ganyan. Kung yung experience ng tao is mako-convert mo sa dataset, so it's just a matter of how much experience and dataset yung kayang i-train sa AI, di ba? So, yeah, highly likely na pwede siya maging conscious kapag sobrang dami niya ng na-train or sobrang advanced na ng technology natin. Pero nandun pa rin yung tanong na, are they conscious in a way na may subjective experience ba
Yun.
sila? So parang
Kasi
may pagka-solipsism yung tanong about sa
kung,
AI. So,
kung narinig mo na ba yung yung Turing's test ng 1950s? Ayun, 'di ba parang ano nga ba yung test na yun? Parang pag kaya nang makipag-conversate ng AI sa language ng or yung intelligence ng AI kaya na makipag-conversate sa tao, pwede na nilang ituring na parang conscious yun, di ba?
Yeah, pag
Pero
pumasa siya sa test na yun.
pero alam ko parang nirefute yun ng isa pang test sino nga ba yun? Jan Searle ba yun? Yung siya naman yung gumawa ng thought experiment naman na the Chinese room. Hindi ko alam kung narinig mo na rin yung Chinese room na yan.
Yeah. Yung nag-aano ng mga Chinese symbols and then
which is nga parang mapapaisip ka are they really conscious ba talaga? Porket nakakasagot silang ganun. Naiintindihan ba nila yung mga yung mga text na yon, mga codes na yon? So mahirap sabihin din eh. Ayun.
So, yun yung parang logic ng solipsism na ikaw hindi mo madadoubt yung sarili mong subjective experience. Pero yung ibang tao, sure ka ba na ganun din sila mag-isip or something? Parang ganun din yung mangyayari sa AI, maybe.
Sa bagay, Kasi hindi natin malalaman kung hindi tayo yung parang maka-experience first hand nung kung ano yung na-experience nila, di ba? Parang ganun. So,
magandang topic next time sa
pag-usapan natin next
future
time,
podcast.
Nire-request yan actually ni Angelo si Saudi Arabian guy.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, he can probably go more in depth about doon kasi IT manager yan eh.
Diba? Okay. So, meron pa akong isang siguro ito na yung last question ko, no. So, mas okay rin kung masalaliman natin yung part na to. Kasi nag-discuss tayo about sa different philosophical positions about di ba? About the fundamental reality. Paano, Ivan, kung napatunayan in the future na mali ang physicalism at ang tama is idealism or panpsychism na nagpo-propose na mind ang pinaka-fundamental. So, before the physical, meron munang mind na nag-create ng physical. So, pag sinabi nating mind, intellectual yan. Ano yan? Conscious being yan, di ba? So, kung mapapatunayan yun, sa tingin mo ba magandang evidence yan or support sa existence ng tinatawag natin na God or Creator?
Oo. Loaded nga, loaded.
Loaded ba?
Kasi yung mga panpsychism, physicalism, idealism, metaphysical thesis sila or projects regarding sa, sabi mo nga, nature ng reality, di ba? I don't think it's parang direct evidence about the existence of deity or gods, ganyan. Kasi usually the way yung mga belief systems na yan, the way they try to prove yung belief nila sa God is through, unang-una, pwedeng sa empirical evidence like nung ancient scriptures nila, like nung mga books, di ba? Yung Bible, may Quran, or may mga Hindu text, ganyan, or the Taoist text. Pwede ring historical events or mga archaeological events na nagko-correlate dun sa nakasulat sa scriptures. And some theologians naman, yung dinedefend nila yung existence ng God through philosophical grounds. Yan. Mga philosophical arguments. So, yung panpsychism as a thesis na about sa nature ng reality, pwede siyang complement about certain attributes nung definition ng God or certain gods. For example, like sa Hindu, they said Brahman is the ultimate creator, di ba? And then everything is Brahman. Like everything that exists is Brahman. So parang merong one is all is one.
Ano yung definition nila sa Brahman? Ano ibig sabihin nila?
Si Brahman yun yung parang creator God nila.
Personal so, God ba yun? Or anong klaseng God siya?
Yeah, I think
personal. Man in sky? Parang ganun parang, ba? Okay.
Hindi naman sky kasi meron ding versions na pati multiverses create daw niya or something ganyan. So may pagka all in one is all. So kumbaga if lahat ng physical objects nang galing sa kanya or ganyan. So and then compatible yung panpsychism sa ganung model. Pati yung Taoist na everything is Tao, following the flow of the Tao, ganyan. Pagdating naman sa mga Abrahamic religions, compatible din siya in a sense na yun nga God created the universe, merong intent, merong motivation, merong parang plan, 'di ba? Meron siyang the way how he made his creation ganyan. Tapos yung notion din ng omnipresence, omniscience. So kung everything has basic fundamental consciousness, diba?
So kung mapuprove pala yun, marami siyang religious concepts na masusuportahan, no?
Yeah.
So, panibagong debate na naman yun kung sino talaga sa kanila yung nagpo-point out sa tama, no? Tsaka, pero isang fact ang mapapatunayan nun kasi kung ganun nga yung case kasi which is yung may nag-exist talaga na God, no? Kasi pag sinabi mo conscious being, intellectual being, ano pa bang maiisip natin tungkol doon? Di God na talaga, di ba?
Yeah, pwede nga. And then yun nga, yung merong will, di ba? Na
may will.
Na to will yung gumawa ng creation. And then, meron din siyang benefit, I think, kasi, di ba, ang theological frameworks or religious belief, it's deeply personal, di ba? So, merong mga, I think marami sa mga religious people yung experience nila and then about sa deep connection nila kay God, yung personal relationship nila kay God. Parang sobrang lakas ng intuition na yon, tsaka sobrang lakas ng effect nila sa buhay na yon. So at least, I think mabibigyan ng parang clarity on how that connection relationship will work, di ba?
Right.
Kasi in a sense, pwede mo sabihin na, kunyari, ikaw meron kang kaibigan sa ibang bansa, nag-uusap kayo sa wifi and all that, di ba? Yung personal connection na yan, parang deeply sa loob, sa internal consciousness mo lang nang nagagawa, di ba?
Tama,
and then yung other people din, even though they don't believe in kay God or wala silang religion na pina-follow, they somehow feel a deep connection with nature or yung tinatawag na ng spirituality nila sa universe. So applicable din sa kanila yung ganyan. So in a sense, yeah. And one thing too kasi, like, lalo na ngayon, parang, yung sa mga tradition na pinapasa, yung sa mga previous generation, it's easy for them to live their life, to have a meaningful life, following their tradition and have faith kay God, di ba? Pero ngayon, yung mga new generation, masyadong connected yung world. So, ang dami nilang questions na maybe hindi masyadong naitatanong ng mga older generation about religion.
Yung world? What do you mean by that? Masyadong connected yung world?
For example, like nga, yung mga questions mo ngayon na, di ba? Will this prove or disprove? Kasi usually sa culture ng tradition natin, parang hindi mo tinuturo yung ganun eh. Ang tinuturo is yung parang faith, di ba?
Tama.
And then yung values, which is good kasi it teach you how to live a good life, di ba? How to live a fulfilling life and have a good relationship with, for example, Jesus Christ, ganyan. Kaso ang problema, yung mga next generation, masyado nang open sa iba't ibang perspectives, sa
True.
iba't ibang galing sa iba't ibang parts ng mundo, 'di ba? So yung mga questions na yun, I think parang hindi masyadong parang walang masyadong guidance sa church, 'di ba? Kasi hindi naman siya masyadong tinuturo sa 1 hour na ano, 'di ba? So I think yung mga ganyang questions and philosophical inquiry will be a great help sa future generations na kung magpe-persist yung traditions natin, di ba?
So ano sa tingin mo mas makakatulong, yung mas dumami yung mga taong free thinkers o na nagre-rely sa rationality nila, o sa traditional way na more on faith yung mga tao na ano? Sa tingin mo?
I think both, mix of both.
Yeah.
Na
para sa akin, parang mas okay na na konti lang yung free thinkers na yung nag-aano, tapos majority is ayun na naman pagka-pass. Sabi mo, passes na naman kami, no? Parang ganun yung naiisip ko. Kasi pag lahat tayo, parang may sariling decision or way ng paniniwala, feeling ko chaos Alam mo yun? Kumbaga parang kanya-kanya na, parang ganun. Sa tingin mo?
So sa tingin mo parang parang magiging detached yung mga ano.
Parang ganun siguro.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It can go multiple ways in the future. Pero yun nga, I mean, masyado pa rin kasi tayong connected sa internet. So parang hindi mo maiiwasan na ma-expose sa iba't ibang perspective. So pero may point ka na yun nga na it's better to parang
limited lang. Kumbaga may mga leaders lang na may kakayahan talaga na mag-think rationally, no? Tapos yung iba, followers na lang. Parang gano'n.
Sama pakinggan.
Parang masama pakinggan, pero maybe parang iba kasi imagine kung mundo pag lahat tayo,
I think ang better term doon is not leaders or rulers, but parang representation. Patingin mo. Parang merong mas maganda mas konting tao na magre-represent nung ideas ng nakararami. Kasi parang pakinggan pag rulers or leaders.
Tsaka,
Tapos follow lang, tapos ship.
Yan yung gusto namin ni Shoto So,
pero yeah, I think maybe proper representation ng values, ideas, ganyan. Kasi parang ang hirap makita nung future na meron lang isang idea around the globes. Parang magpe-persist yung iba't ibang cultures, di ba?
Sa bagay,
But we'll never know. We can just guess, di ba?
Tama. Sa ngayon, muna? Puro promissory note muna yung science tsaka philosophy sa mga ganyang bagay, no? So, I think that's it, Ivan. It was a great conversation, ano? So, sa susunod siguro, may marami pa tayong papag-uusapan na mga interesting din kagaya nito. So, maraming salamat. Maraming salamat, bro.
Thank you din.
Thank you. Bye.